Welcome back to Movies TV Mad and Monday's edition of the DCU Daily. I'm going to read you out something from Daniel RPK, who's a scooper that's really pissed me off about James Gunn's Superman. Superman initially had an episodic structure. We've spoken about this before, the film not having a normal three act structure. So Superman initially had an episodic structure, breaking the story up by days. It has reportedly been turned into a continuous single narrative in the final edit. I believe this to be true, and I believe this is the reason they sacked one of Gunn's editors. I'm assuming it's the lead editor of the movie. This, my friends, has really pissed me off. This is the film that I wanted to see, an episodic structure breaking the story up by days. Imagine how different and unique and wonderful that would have been and could have been. And this is what they do. It doesn't matter who runs WB. They interfere with people's movies. They tried to interfere with Man of Steel. Nolan stood by the door on the set while Snyder was working, not allowing them to do so. During BVS, they cut 30 minutes out of this movie because this James Gunn Superman movie was going to be this movie, a longer movie that was going to have an episodic structure cataloguing each day. We're not getting that now. They've cut 20 to 30 minutes of this movie. Gunn denies this is anything to do with the studio because it's a separate entity at DC Studios and they couldn't do that even if they wanted to. Now, Gunn is a studio man. Gunn doesn't call out. He doesn't call out studios. He knows where his bread is buttered. Do you think that he was happy that Disney fired him? Do you think he didn't go to work to make sure he didn't lose control of his Guardians 3? He didn't speak to his friends on the production and his actors to make sure they refused to be involved if Disney tried to get another director to do Guardians 3? Of course he did. But he doesn't call out studios publicly. So he's denied that WB forced him to cut his movie. But he has not denied that this movie has lost a lot of minutes. And from what I'm being told, it's about 20 to 30 minutes. And now we're hearing from this scooper, Daniel RPK, who sometimes is wrong and sometimes is right. I believe Daniel because we heard this ages ago and we discussed it on this very platform, on this very channel, that this wasn't going to have the usual three-act structure. You've taken somebody's art and you've cut it. You've got rid of it. But here's the bigger problem, everyone. This film was shot to be an episodic movie, to be shot in daily episodes. So even if you restructure that and you re-edit it to be a continuous movie, it's going to look a little bit choppy. It's going to look problematic. You may be able to tell in the movie, right, that they cut this narrative from out of the movie. Remember Zack Snyder's Justice League was filmed to be in episodes on HBO Max, which would have been a better idea. We've already heard that not everybody finished watching Zack Snyder's Justice League because it was 4 hours long. If it was a Game of Thrones type 4-part epic saga, it would have been amazing. Because then the plan was going to be to do a Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 in episodes again. They would have got more subscribers. It would have worked more. Now, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Snyder Cut, got a lot of views and most people loved and finished the movie. I'm just giving you an example that this isn't the first time that WB have done this. Now, I don't care if you love James Gunn or hate James Gunn. This is wrong. This is wrong on every level. This was going to be a unique episodic movie cataloguing each day of the life of Superman. Imagine it. Close your eyes and imagine how awesome that would have been, even if you hate Gunn, even if you're unhappy that Henry Cavill isn't his Superman, even if you're unhappy that he's here in the first place instead of Zack Snyder. You Zack Snyder fans, I'm a Zack Snyder fan as well, by the way, have been talking about artistic integrity, artistic freedom that was taken away from Zack, but he fought for it and he got it back, and was taken away by David Ayer in his Suicide Squad movie and still hasn't been given back to him. And then there's the Schumacher cut, which they refuse to give us. This is WB. Now, I would like to see this original episodic daily cut of Superman without question. Gunn's not really someone who releases director's cuts. And as I say, he's a studio man. He knows where his bread's buttered, and he's basically been put in charge of this logo, DC Studios, and he's not going to do anything to risk that. Now, clearly, it was the studio's opinion that, this episodic take of cataloguing, a day in the life of Superman in 7 days maybe, or whatever it was going to be, might have hurt the box office, may have affected the pacing. It's a kind of thing that you could probably do more successfully on television or streaming. I agree, but it's unique, it's artistic. And this is the real problem with Hollywood today. They're so fucking greedy that they make stupid, dumb decisions based on their paranoia and fear of losing money. I don't mind CEOs having an opinion on what happens in a movie. It's their money, right? They're the ones that stand to lose millions, billions if it goes wrong. And we'll see. We'll see if this movie is got some kind of continuity issues because they've cut the episodic structure from it. How can you shoot a movie as an episodic movie, then put it together as one? As we know, they haven't gone and done extensive reshoots. I believe that. I believe that. They haven't gone out and done episodic reshoots. They haven't gone back and done reshoots to try and restructure the movie, which probably, once they decided that they weren't going to do the episodic structure and go back to the usual 3-act structure, they should have gone back to reshoot the movie extensively, which also would have been problematic. But when you see the movie now, you've lost 20, 30 minutes. They've changed the way the movie is going to kind of look narratively. So it's a problem. It's a huge problem. So I think this movie may have a Batman versus Superman problem where they cut 30 minutes from the movie, so people watching it are going, oh, I don't get that. I don't get this. Why didn't Superman know that, the wheelchair had an explosive in it? Things like that. But then when you see the extended edition, the real film that Zack Snyder had shot, you understand it makes more sense. You may still not like that movie, but it still makes more narrative sense. So by cutting 20 minutes from this Superman movie, cutting out the episodic structure, it may not make any sense. One thing I know about is constructing and developing stories, as I do it myself. Now, I'm not some successful Hollywood director, but I have the ability to tell a story, right? So I know if you shot a movie to be an episodic day in the life of Superman, and then you've cut that out and re-edited the movie, and you've cut 20 minutes out of the movie, it's a problem. This may be why they brought on another composer, because maybe the way that Murphy had composed it was for the episodic structure of the movie. Maybe his schedule didn't open up, maybe he couldn't come back and redo that. He did the score a long time ago. or he refused to change his score for artistic reasons. So they said, all right, we're going to replace you. They're going to keep some of his score, right? But a lot of this score probably will be from this brand new HBO composer. I am quite shocked that Saslav made such a fuss out of making James Gunn the co-CEO of DC Studios. Gunn himself said that Saslav hadn't broken any of his promises to him and Peter. Now, Gunn is never going to admit any of this because, as I say, he's a studio man. He gets it. He doesn't want to lose this powerful position of co-CEO of the DC Studios logo. I get it. He's got a remarkable opportunity, but here's the thing, James. You may not be able to speak because of threat of losing your job and career, but I've got nothing to be afraid of new, creatively bankrupt Hollywood. Because if they've done this to your Superman movie, what are they going to do to your Lantern series? What are they going to do to Peacemaker 2 once they see it? Because as I said yesterday, Peacemaker 2 has a lot of continuity from Superman and the DCU. It's not like Peacemaker 1. So it needs Superman to make sense. It needs people to love this Superman movie. Because if this Superman movie flops and this movie is coming out a month later, as it is, Houston, you've got a problem. Who's going to care that you've got all these Superman cameos and all these DCU cameos if your movie doesn't make any fucking sense? If your movie flops. So I feel really bad for James Gunn. As I say, he's going to keep on grinning and telling you he's excited for his movie and that WB are the bestest partners, creative partners ever. Absolute bollocks and bullshit, if you ask me. But deep down, in a place he don't talk about at parties, he's going to be fucking heartbroken. He came up with a vision. They've taken the sledgehammer and they've smashed the artistic vision to bits. Because this description of an episodic day in the life of Superman sounds fucking amazing. And I think Gunn would have killed that movie. Would have been amazing. Would have been sick. A movie that I would want to see. What I don't want to see is a 2-hour movie that's cut the artistic integrity and artistic vision out of this movie. And I believe it. I am not talking like this might be true, this might not be true. I believe Daniel RPK this time. This is fucking outrageous. They're cutting, they're reshooting, and they're restructuring movies and television shows all the time. Look what Disney and RTD just did to the Doctor Who Series 2 finale, pretending that was the plan all along. Bullshit. This is why we don't like you. This is why we don't consume your shit anymore. That's why we don't go to cinemas anymore. Tom Cruise saying support all movies, love all movies. No, Tom. Stop jumping out of fucking planes and stop having an erection over jumping off of planes and risking your life and go back to making good movies. Encourage new fucking Hollywood to make great movies that interest us. If you want us to go back to movie theatres, I'm still going to consume this movie back to back. I need to. It's Superman. I love Superman. My loyalty is to Superman and DC. But I'm not going to lie to you. If I don't fucking like this movie, if I can tell that they've cut this episodic structure from the movie, I'm going to tell you. If I shockingly love this movie, I will tell you at this moment I'm just expecting low-key to like it. Right? That's what I'm expecting. But hearing this, as someone who writes, who's writing 3 fucking movies himself, 3 fucking movies that the world may never see, but still, I'm writing those movies. That's why I'm never pitching them to Hollywood. Well, they wouldn't accept them anyway, Mick. You're a nobody. Probably not. It's not the point. What am I going to do? Pitch them my movies and then they're going to cut and change the shit out of them. No. I'll tell you what I'd rather do. Try and find funding, make the movies and release them on YouTube. And whoever watches them, watches them. And whoever doesn't watch them, doesn't watch them. Because I wouldn't trust these incompetent, creative, fucking know-nothing hacks on my story, on my heart, on my soul. Because that's what art is. It's someone's creative soul. James Gunn came up with a very interesting concept for a Superman comic book movie, and they said, "No, mate, no, this is worrying. We're not going to make any fucking money." Wouldn't it be ironic, after you've interfered with his creative integrity, his creative vision, if you end up not making any money? Wouldn't that be karma?